I'm Sandra Bjorn from TEIMAS. Thank you very much for being here today. In this workshop, we will explore the relevant shifts brought about by the European regulatory tsunami. At the end of 2024, at TEIMAS, we published a series of workshops on the regulatory tsunami aimed at helping European companies understand the changes they would have to face in the medium term. Since then, the situation has changed, not only regarding the Omnibus package, which we will examine in detail, but also in the status of several regulations that were either awaiting approval in our previous edition or have since been updated. We will review Critical Raw Materials Act, Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation, Ecodesign for Sustainable Product Regulation, ESPR, Waste Shipments Regulation, and Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, and Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, CSDD, after the Omnibus package. Let's begin by examining each regulatory framework, ensuring we understand both their scope and their impact. The first one will be Critical Raw Materials Act. This act entered into force on the 23rd of May 2024 and is a key piece on the Green Deal Industrial Plan. It is critical for securing a stable and sustainable supply of essential raw materials, vital to sectors such as renewable energy, digital technology, aerospace and defence. Key aspects comprise an updated list of critical and strategic raw materials with benchmarks set for domestic capacities by 2030. Targets are set for extraction at least 10%, processing at least 40%, and recycling at least 25% of the EU's annual consumption. Measures to streamline permitting processes, reducing extraction permit times to 27 months and processing and recycling permits to 15 months, while maintaining high social and environmental standards. Initiatives to improve sustainability and circularity by enhancing the recycling of raw materials, rich waste, and incentivizing large-scale recycling, particularly for permanent magnets. And efforts to diversify the EU's imports using trade agreements and strategic partnerships to mitigate reliance on single sources. The Commission has officially approved several strategic projects under the CRMA on the 25th of March 2025. Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation. Next, we have the Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation, PPWR, which entered into force on the 11th of February 2025, with its general application being 18 months later. This regulation replaces the previous Packaging and Packaging Waste Directive, harmonising national measures across the EU. Its core objectives are to prevent and reduce packaging waste, including the increased reuse and refill systems, to ensure that all packaging on the EU market becomes recyclable in an economical viable way by 2030, and to safely ensure the use of recycled plastics in packaging and to reduce the reliance on virgin materials, thereby aiming for climate neutrality by 2050. The PPWR sets specific requirements throughout the entire life cycle of packaging. These include restrictions on certain single-use plastics, mandates to minimize packaging weight and volume, targets for recycled content, and obligations for takeaway businesses to offer customers the option of using their own containers. Additionally, the regulation imposes measures to reduce substances of concern, such as per and purified alkyl substances, PFAS, to further protect environmental and public health. Let's now move on to the Ecodesign for Sustainable Product Regulation, known as the ESPR. Came into force on the 18th of July 2024. This regulation establishes a comprehensive framework for setting eco-design requirements across nearly all physical products sold in the EU, with only a few exemptions such as food, feed and medicinal products. The ESPR aims to enhance product circularity, energy performance, recyclability and durability, therefore reducing the environmental climate footprint of these products. It replaces the Ecodesign Directive 2009/125/EC and introduces new measures, with one key highlight being the Digital Product Passport (DPP), which serves as digital identity card for products, ensuring that manufacturers, consumers and authorities have access to essential sustainability information. On April 16, 2025, the European Commission adopted the 2025-2030 Working Plan for the Ecodesign for Sustainable Products Regulation (ESPR) and the Energy Labelling Regulation. The plan outlines a list of products to be prioritised for the introduction of the eco-design requirement over the next 5 years. It states that the priority products are steel and aluminium, textiles with a focus on apparel, furniture, tiles and mattresses. These were selected based on the potential to contribute significantly to the circular economy. In addition, the Commission will introduce horizontal measures to requirements on repairability for products such as consumer electronics and small household appliances. This will include the introduction of a repairability score for products with the most potential and requirements of recyclability on electrical and electronic equipment. Now let's examine the Waste Shipment Regulation, which entered into force on the 20th of May 2024. However, note that while most of the provisions will apply from the 21st of May 2026 and export rules from the 21st of May 2027, until then, the rules under Waste Shipment Regulation 1013/2006 will continue to apply. This regulation responds to challenges posed by increased global transport of waste by road, rail and sea. Its primary aims are to ensure that the EU does not simply export its waste challenges to other countries, to reinforce environmental management through enhanced traceability and electronic documentation of waste shipments, to prevent illegal shipments of waste via an EU's waste shipment enforcement group composed of various national and European authorities, to address plastic waste exports with specific rules and to introduce updated classifications for e-waste in line with the international standards from the Basel Convention. In February 2025, the Commission has already received the first requests from the non-OECD countries for inclusion on a list of countries eligible to import non-hazardous waste from the EU. The European Commission will access these applications and draw up a list of non-OECD countries authorized to import specific waste streams from the EU. Stay tuned, as Cristina Vázquez, CEO of TEIMAS, will provide more information on this regulation in an upcoming interview. And finally, let's turn our attention to the Omnibus Simplification package. On the 23rd of February 2025, the European Commission presented this package, which is designed to simplify and streamline EU regulations related to sustainability and businesses. It compromises, among other files, a proposal for the directive amending the CSRD and the CSDDD, and a proposal which postpones the application of all reporting requirements. This is so-called the Stop the Clock Directive. On April 14th, the Council gave its final green light to the Stop the Clock Directive, which postpones the application dates of certain corporate sustainability reporting and due diligence requirements, as well as the transposition deadline for the due diligence provisions. Let's briefly review the two key directives affected by the Omnibus package. Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD. This is a directive EU 2022-2464 on a corporate sustainability reporting, which came into force on the 5th of January 2023. Its primary aim is to elevate the importance of sustainable reporting to the same level as financial reporting, thereby addressing the growing demand for reliable and comparable sustainability information from the investment community. The Omnibus package will bring several changes to the CSRD: reduction of the scope of reporting companies. The reporting requirements will only apply to large undertakings with more than 1,000 employees. This means that the number of companies in scope will be reduced by 80%. Value chain cap. For companies which will not be in the scope of the CSRD anymore, the Commission will adopt, by delegated act, a voluntary reporting standard based on the standard for SMEs developed by EFRAC. Commission's commitment to revise the European Sustainability Reporting Standard, ESRS. Deletion of sector-specific standard requirements. The proposal will delete the empowerment for the Commission to adopt sector-specific standards. Removing the reasonable assurance standard, the proposal is removing the possibility for the Commission to propose moving from a limited assurance requirement to a reasonable assurance requirement. Postponement of reporting requirements. Following the adoption of the Stop the Clock Directive, the entry into application of the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, requirements has been postponed by 2 years for large companies that have not yet started reporting, as well as for listed SMEs. Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, CSDDD. This is Directive EU 2024-1760 on corporate sustainability due diligence, which came into force on the 25th of July 2024. The CSDDD mandates that companies identify, prevent and mitigate adverse impact on human rights and the environment arising from their operations and subsidiaries. The main changes that the Omnibus packages bring into the CSDDD are giving companies more time to prepare for implementing the new framework by postponing by 1 year the transition deadline, 26th of July 2027, and the first phase of the application of sustainability due diligence requirements covering to the largest companies to the 26th of July 2028, relieving companies from the obligation to systematically conduct in-depth assessments of adverse impacts that occur or may occur in the often complex value chains at the level of indirect business partners. Simplify other aspects of sustainability due diligence requirements so that large companies avoid unnecessary complexities and costs. Reducing the trickle-down effect further by limiting the information that companies within scope may request from the SME and small mine-camp business partners to the information specified in the CSRD Voluntary Sustainability Reporting Standard (VSME) standard. Aligning the requirements on the adoption of the transition plans for the climate mitigation with the CSRD. Today's workshop has provided a comprehensive overview of the current European regulatory tsunami, from the strategic implications of the Critical Raw Material Act, the Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation, Ecodesign for Sustainable Product Regulation, and the Waste Shipments Regulation, to the detailed insights on the CSRD and the CSDDD. Keep an eye on our TEIMAS LinkedIn page, and we will soon release a white paper on the Sustainability Regulatory Tsunami as well. Thank you for your attention. See you on the next one.